Of cloud with some outbreaks of rain lingering across some central and northern parts of England, a dry start across Northern Ireland and mostly bright and fine across parts of Scotland, albeit just a little bit of cloud and a few spots of rain towards the far east and southeast. Through the day itself, that band of cloud and any rain's going to fizzle out as it gradually edges a bit further westward, so apart from 1 or 2 showers towards the south and maybe across some parts of Wales and southwest England, it is going to be a dry picture by the afternoon with some sunny breaks. Yes, clouds building through the day, but some decent sunshine on offer, and in the sunshine feeling warm enough even though temperatures are a touch below average for the time of year. Another chilly night to come as we go through tomorrow night and into Thursday, and then a fine picture through Thursday itself for most, though some blustery winds towards the northwest and also towards the southeast, and here there will be a bit more cloud and perhaps 1 or 2 showers. More fine weather on Friday, but by Saturday, well, that's when we could see a band of rain pushing its way in. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dormy, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong in for Patrick Christys Tonight.
It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. Let's see, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
You're going to hell. They're all going to hell. On the same day that President Trump unleashed on the United Nations over its failed open borders experiment, an Ethiopian migrant was jailed for 12 months after sexually assaulting a schoolgirl in Epping. Well, Trump's right, isn't he? Migration is ruining Britain. Also tonight.
Farage, Nigel Farage, Nigel Farage.
Yeah, I think that's called Farage derangement syndrome. Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey delivered a speech that was less a vision for Britain and more a deranged therapy session aimed at one man, Nigel Farage. Why does he hate Reform UK so much? Plus... No, I'm not auditioning. It's Monty Python legend Eric Idle has hit out at modern TV's obsession with bonking. Also, I'm joined by a concerned father who's accused a Dorset secondary school of brainwashing his daughter and making her feel guilty for being white. And massive warnings over Angela Rayner's Islamophobia definition tonight. Claims it might allow grooming gangs to act with impunity. On my panel tonight, it's political commentator Chloe Dobbs, GB News contributor Will Kingston, and journalist Jonathan Liss. Oh, and President Trump also got stuck into Sadiq Khan today, didn't he?
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that.
He's brilliant, isn't he? Your Tuesday night starts right here. Oh, and you wouldn't want to show your kids this one.
Oh, you're my best friend in a world we must defend.
Gotta catch them all, eh? All of that and much more after your headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Alex, thank you. The top stories. Donald Trump has told the UN General Assembly today that it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders as he accused the UN of facilitating an invasion of Western countries. Donald Trump said the European continent is in serious trouble over migration, while also criticising its failure to cut off Russian energy products as embarrassing. He also hit back at countries recognising Palestinian statehood, saying that recognising it as such would be a reward for the terrible atrocities that Hamas has committed, as he also told the terror group to release the hostages now. This all comes after Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper confirmed Britain now recognises Palestinian statehood, warning the two-state solution is in profound peril.
Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire.
A 59-year-old man has been found guilty of trying to assassinate Donald Trump on a golf course in September last year. Ryan Ruth was arrested after a rifle was seen poking through bushes at Mr. Trump's West Palm Beach golf course in Florida. The incident occurred weeks after a bullet grazed the president's ear in another assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania. Ruth, who faces the prospect of life in prison, pleaded not guilty to all 5 charges against him and opted to defend himself in court. But he was found guilty of all counts following a trial in Florida. Reports say he tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen when the verdict was being read out. In other news, the Home Office will seek to deport asylum seeker Hadush Kabatu following his 12-month prison sentence for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. Sources have told GB News that the process to deport Kabatu following his sentencing has already begun. The court heard how the Ethiopian national tried to kiss the girl, put his hand on her thigh and told her that he wanted to have a baby with her. He also harassed 2 other teenagers and another woman. The 38-year-old denied the allegations, calling them fabrications, but the judge said that the evidence was clear and consistent. His arrest earlier this summer sparked protests and counter-demonstrations outside the Bell Hotel in Epping. And the legendary cricket umpire Dickie Bird has died at the age of 92. In a statement, his club said it was with profound sadness that we pronounced the passing of Harold Dennis Dickey-Bird. He died peacefully at his home. One of cricket's most beloved figures, he had an illustrious career writing his name into history as the most famous and popular official in the game's history. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me in an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, the circus is in town, everyone. Yes, that is Sir Ed Davey, the stunt-loving leader of the Liberal Democrats and former Postal Affairs Minister, often dubbed as the clown of British politics by commentators. Well, today he made his keynote speech at his party conference. Davey, who was prancing around Bournemouth like a man who just discovered gravity after one too many bungee jumps, delivered a speech that's less a vision for Britain and more a deranged therapy session aimed at one man, Nigel Farage. And speaking of obsession, let's tally Ed's Farage derangement syndrome, shall we?
Farage, Farage is Nigel Farage. Farage, give Farage so much time and attention. Farage, Nigel Farage, Nigel Farage, Nigel Farage. Farage is Britain. Farage is Britain, Nigel, and Farage is Britain. Farage is Britain. Farage is Britain. Farage is Britain. The threat that reform now poses to our country and our democracy. Farage is Britain. Farage, Nigel Farage.
Well, yeah, he mentioned Nigel Farage a whopping 32 times, painting him as the architect of every ill, from Brexit to school shootings. It's pathological, Ed. And reform, well, he name-dropped that party 5 times. As always, this is the bogeyman, the threat to our democracy, isn't it? To our values. Reform is a threat to our NHS as well, apparently. And what about Keir Starmer? You know, the man who's actually running the country. How many times do you think he mentioned him? Not a single mention by name. Not one. Davey referenced the Prime Minister once in passing when he was boasting about raising carers issues with him. Never by name. In fact, he mentioned Trump more times than Labour. And the bias is so overt, isn't it? So easily exposed for everyone to see. You love Keir, don't you, Ed? He's your political idol, a man you can't wait to offer a coalition agreement with at the next election. That's what your thinly guised bias is all about, isn't it? And I'll happily take on that bet right now with anyone who wants to disagree with me. And in interviews over the last few days, Davey spewed the dangerous rhetoric that's plagued American politics for over a decade now and led to exceptional political violence and indeed assassinations. Yes, he continued to call Nigel Farage a threat to our democracy.
Out these Lego models of Nigel Farage, that's him dressed as Donald Trump. I mean, this guy is living rent-free in your brain. He's got 5 MPs, you've got 72. Why are you bothering about it?
Because he's a threat to our country and to our democracy. What he wants to do, and that's why it looks a bit like Donald Trump, is he wants to bring Trump's America to the United Kingdom. I think people who care about British values don't want to be, an adjunct to Trump's America.
Well, Davey still cannot seem to fathom the personal danger his words pose to politicians in our country. This language is divisive and it is dangerous. Davey also repeated the unsubstantiated... Oh, I can't say that word. The unsubstantiated... I can't say it, I'm moving on. Repeated the claim... having a bit of a mare tonight. Repeated the claim that we could return hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants back to the EU had we not left the super bureaucracy. On paper, we could, of course, do that, but why on earth did that not happen in 2018, when the crisis started then, Ed? When were we still in the EU and we couldn't deport those migrants? How many did we actually send back to the EU, Ed? Is it the inconvenient truth that they wouldn't take them back at all? Is it because it's a completely manufactured statement you're spewing to the public in a desperate attempt to undermine the biggest exercise of democracy in our country? Well, that's not very Democrat of you, is it, Ed? Well, Ed Davey's speech wasn't leadership. It was a desperate bid for relevance from a party that's become the establishment's useful idiot. The same desperation we can all see while you make yourself look like a total fool as you backflip around the country. What we saw today wasn't leadership. It was a one-man hate campaign against a rival who's actually connecting with the voters. The Lib Dems lost a long time ago. Some would say it's pure jealousy. So if we're asking who really is a danger to British people, I'd hypothetically say it's probably an incompetent politician that oversaw a huge scandal that led to innocent people taking their own lives. Many other innocent people banged up in prison. A politician who blamed everyone but themselves for the Post Office scandal. But, Ed Davey, I possibly couldn't point to who that politician is, could I? But let's get the thoughts of my panel. I have Jonathan List, journalist. I have GB News contributor Will Kingston and political commentator Chloe Dobbs. Will, I'll start with you.
Sure. I enjoyed how well substantiated your comments were, by the way, Alex.
I can say unsubstantiated. There we go, I can say it. And I do have a moment when I just can't say a word for some reason. But unsubstantiated claims. But what I wanted to ask you is this. Ed Davey has made a point over the last few days about rhetoric, about division, about unity. But then he goes on to call Reform UK and Nigel Farage a threat to democracy. Now, that screams the word fascism, which is what you would use to describe Nazis. Is he just a bit two-faced on this issue, Will?
Well, what you've got to remember is when leftists use the term people who divide us, what they mean is people that we disagree with. They don't care about division, and in fact, division is good in a democracy. Division means a contest of ideas. What they're saying is that we have a particular narrative that we think is the right narrative, and anyone else we believe should be suppressed, or at worst, and again, this is what you're getting at, we think that there is a particular permission structure which enables political violence. That's why that political violence is inherent in leftist ideology in the way that it just isn't on the right.
Yeah, Jonathan's already having a meltdown in the corner over there, so I'll wait for him to finish and I'll come to you first, Chloe. So look, Nigel Farage doesn't go around calling people threats to democracy, does he? He doesn't do that. I haven't seen him do that at any of his conferences. He talks about policies. He spends his time talking about what's going wrong with the country. Ed Davey spent 30 name drops there of man Nigel Farage. Not a single name drop of Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. What does that tell you, Chloe?
Well, it tells you that he's thinking about getting into a coalition with Keir Starmer, so he doesn't want to criticise him too much. Also, it tells you just how well Reform are doing. Reform are completely leading the national conversation in politics at the moment, and hence everybody's responding to them. They're not responding to what Keir Starmer said or what Kemi Badenoch has announced. I mean, Kemi Badenoch hasn't really come up with that many policies in her, over a year as the Tory party leader, so she still seems to be thinking about it. But Reform have been out at press conferences announcing what they're going to do, being bold in what they're going to do, and hence everybody is talking about it. And when they've led, over 100 opinion polls, quite rightly, other parties, like the Lib Dems, like the Labour Party, we're going to have Keir Starmer go on the attack against Farage as well at the Labour Party conference coming up. It just shows how incredibly well they're doing. I mean, I think, 6 months ago, you had Number 10 saying we think there's a 50-50 chance that our main opponent will be Reform or the Conservatives at the general election. But it seems very clear, I think, to them, as you can see it in their rhetoric now, that Farage is going to be their main opponent.
Yeah, which is baffling because you still expect, with the country and the state it is today, to be tackling the government. They're the ones they're probably going to win votes from if they're going to try and win the Labour Party votes, but they're not bothering. Jonathan, this Farage mania, people are calling it Farage derangement syndrome. You'd expect if this is a guy who was the other day flying the Union Jack saying he wants to unite the country, not to use such divisive rhetoric like threat to democracy. That's completely unsubstantiated. Got it there.
Well,
Alex, what is a bigger danger or division being a threat to democracy or calling someone out for being a threat to democracy. This is the absurd case we have on the right. Okay, so Will's always talking about the left. This is what happens on the right. You think that saying something is worse than actually doing that thing. That is what I find so completely ludicrous about this. Look, I agree with Chloe, actually, that because Reform is doing so well, obviously, and that is where the Lib Dems are going to have the richest seam of traction and opposition, it's not in their interest to go so much against Keir Starmer for a simple electoral reason, which is that Lib Dems and Labour are hardly rivals in any seats. So the Tories are going to be the Lib Dems' main rivals, or indeed Reform. Labour and the Lib Dems are not going to be fighting each other in the next election, and depending on how the electoral calculus resolves itself after the election, they may need to work together. So it makes sense, as Chloe says. And obviously, and the other point is that Farage poses a much greater risk than Keir Starmer does, to a Liberal anyway.
OK, but you say the words that you say aren't important, and that what would you be more fearful of, a threat to democracy or actually someone who says the word threat to democracy? Well, there's no evidence that Reform are some Nazi party, that they're going to overthrow the democratic system here. And we do see the words that you say do play out in...
Well, I never said... You said the word Nazi, not me. What I would say is that Trump is clearly Farage's hero, and Farage makes no bones about that. And Trump is a fascist. And Trump literally did. Trump literally tried to overthrow the government. He launched a coup against the United States. Well, you're denying it, are you? OK, so in full-scale revisionism, fine. Well, I happen to remember 2021, even if you don't. And everything he's done since then has simply corroborated that.
I know you don't seem to think that saying things is that important, but I do think that just throwing around words like fascist has serious consequences. Donald Trump has had 2 assassination attempts on his life, and it is because of people just calling him a fascist.
He's called people fascists himself. He calls people on the left fascists all the time, actually.
I'd note that Jonathan did exactly what Ed Davey did, which is just to mindlessly throw out that Farage is a threat to democracy without giving any example or reasoning as to how he is a threat to democracy. The term threat to democracy means that there will no longer be choice of your leadership in a country moving forward. Of course, that is not the case with Nigel Farage. So the reason people say this is just to delegitimise him, and that's not the case. The other thing that I would add about Ed Davey is that this is obviously a party that has a severe identity crisis. The reason he would be speaking about Farage so much is because he's got no idea what the Liberal Democrats are or what they stand for. This was the party that believed in classical liberalism. They junked that. They then just went full anti-Brexit. They can't do that anymore. And now they're a party which kind of goes, well, what are we here for? They don't know. And so the answer is just bash Nigel Farage end on end.
Well, actually, the Lib Dems had some sense. In fact, there is a really strong contingent of the British public that would actually like to enhance relations with the EU beyond what Labour is proposing. And so I think that the Lib Dems could catch a trick, actually, by positioning themselves more fully as the rejoined party. Now, it wouldn't open as many wounds on the Lib Dem side as it would on Labour, because the Lib Dems were so unified against Brexit. So that is one thing they could do. But in Will's defence, and not something I say very often, but the Lib Dems do have... they've always had an identity crisis, because they've always fought the Conservatives in the southwest, and they've always fought Labour in sort of big cities. And so they've tried to sort of appeal to both those constituencies at the same time, and that has actually worked quite well for them. They do have 72 seats. I would like them to be a lot bolder in what they're doing.
I think the reason they've only got 72 seats is simply because the Tory vote just completely collapsed. But the same like Labour, that's the reason why they got their landslide. But anyway, we'll see at the next election, shall we? Let's see if I can read some words now, shall we? Speaking about the Post Office scandal previously, Sir Ed Davey said this: "The Horizon Post Office scandal is the greatest miscarriage of justice of our time, and I am deeply sorry for the families who have had their lives ruined by it. As one of the ministers over the 20 years of this scandal, including my time as Minister responsible for postal affairs, I'm sorry I did not see through the Post Office's lies, and that it took me 5 months to meet Alan Bates, the man who has done so much to uncover it."
Well done, mate. You've still got it.
Yeah, I've still got it. I can still read words, can't we? Right, anyway, moving on. Time for our latest Great British giveaway now. It is our biggest prize to date, worth over 100 grand. It includes a 4-berth motorhome and over 74k and 30k in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody. Well, some breaking news in the last few minutes. Armed police and emergency services have rushed to an explosion in the centre of Oslo, according to police. It's been confirmed by police that there are still explosives at the site which have not been detonated. We'll keep you updated and posted on that as more details are released throughout the show. Don't go anywhere.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong, and that was President Trump giving an extraordinary speech at the United Nations today. More on that very shortly, but now it's time for our head-to-head. Television is full of people trying to bonk on islands. That's the verdict of Monty Python star Eric Idle, who lashed out at big streaming companies like Netflix. Speaking to Radio Times, the actor and comedian said the television now seems to be people trying to bonk each other on islands, game shows or news shows, so it's not terribly interesting. He might have been referring to the popular reality series Love Island, in which single contestants live in an isolated villa, forming couples to avoid being eliminated from the show. So tonight, I'm asking, is TV too sexual these days? And going head-to-head on this are James Barr, commentator, and former Tory Minister Anne Whittaker. Welcome both to the show. James, I have an idea what you might say, so we'll start with you and then we'll get on to you, Anne. James, do you think it's too much sex on TV?
That was an amazing segue from Donald Trump to talking about people bonking on islands. Loved it. Very funny. Loved it. No, I don't think so. Eric Idle is very disappointing here. I mean, he made his living from pushing boundaries, and now he's criticizing that. There was always innuendo and nudity in Monty Python comedy. There was even an episode called Full Frontal Nudity. And if we know anything about streaming, your streaming platforms show you the kind of shows that you enjoy. So I would imagine Eric's algorithm is just giving him TV shows about people bonking on islands because he's into it.
All right, I'll pass it over to you, Anne. What do you make of it? Is there too much sex on TV now? Because we don't just have Love Island. There's another show where people are essentially butt naked in tubes and people evaluate them from the feet upwards as that tube slowly rises. I won't say what the name of the show is because I can't quite remember it. But, Anne, is there just too much sex on TV? Is it too predictable?
Well, I'll take your word about that particular show, which I'm pleased to have never seen. Yes, I mean, the only thing that amazes me is that it's taken Eric Idle this long to actually recognise it. It is now in absolutely everything, a bit like ancient Rome. Even innocent, family programmes like Strictly, you find the judges using erotic as a compliment. And I don't know where all the clothes are. They've all waltzed off somewhere. So, yes, I mean, undeniably, I think, television is over-sexualised, but I don't think it's anything new. I think it's been that way for a very long time. And now, of course, you do something and you push the boundaries and then you have to push them further and then you have to push them further, which is why we've got shows of the sort you mentioned and Love Island and that type of thing. So, yeah, I think he's right, but I think he's a bit behind the times. It's been going on for a long time.
It certainly has. James, just kind of keeping with the same angle here, we do see pop stars, particularly female pop stars, not really wearing a lot these days. And, of course, most of their audience, a lot of their audience is young women. Do you think it sets a good example to be that sort of exposed? I think of Taylor Swift sometimes, people like Lady Gaga, who are really sometimes wearing the bare minimum. Do you not think there's something in modesty when it comes to these things?
Well, I just want to say to Anne, I saw you on Strictly, and don't tell me your Paso Doble was not sexy, because it was. And to answer your question, Alex...
If you found that sexy, you're a sad case. You're a really sad case.
I think that's an insane question, Alex. Like, pop stars have always been sexy, and that's not anything new. And if anything... artists like Taylor Swift, Dua Lipa are owning their sexuality. They're taking it back from men. And actually, if you're talking about pop culture and nudity, we should be talking about The Sun and Page 3, which thankfully no longer exists. But like, that was way worse than Little Mix going on stage and empowering women to be comfortable in their bodies.
OK, well, Anne, is there a thing about liberalisation for women here, a bit of liberation, wear what you want, dress how you want? Is that not the values now of modern-day Britain, perhaps, Anne?
No, it's the exact opposite. I mean, there's now an enslavement which says, if you appear, you've got to have very little between you and your appearance. You mustn't wear much. And that is itself a form of enslavement. And every single pop star, virtually, if you look at a photograph, the whole thing is about what they're not wearing. The same thing goes for the stars on the red carpet when you've got these very big showbiz events. They also are hardly wearing anything. It is a very, very poor example because it is fact saying to women, this is how we judge you. You know, never mind the brain, never mind the heart. It's all about the body, and it should not be.
Yeah, James, Anne's got a good point here. There seems to be this sort of pressure now. Maybe people in Little Mix, as you gave an example, didn't want to dress in these very, well, barely anything, really. They didn't want to be doing that, but they're pressured into their management labels, which then sets an agenda for young people to dress similarly. Do you think there's a pressure for that in media, James?
I think that they've been taking control of the narrative in a way that they weren't previously. And I think there was pressure from record companies in many ways for artists to use sex to sell music. I think that has gone. I think now what we're seeing is an emancipation from that. And we're seeing women and also men as well, let's not forget, take ownership of their bodies, celebrate their bodies. And they're not, by doing that, and they're not removing their brain. I think, in fact, they're actually using their brain more than ever. If you listen to their lyrics and for example, Taylor Swift, Time Person of the Year, don't forget, new album coming out, can't wait. Like, she really is talking to women and girls in a way that other artists perhaps never have.
OK. Oh, well, that is James Barr, commentator there, and former Tory Minister Anne Widdecombe. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me for a good-hearted debate. Coming up...
Tylenol during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
Yes, President Trump has shocked the world with his claims about paracetamol, pregnancy and autism as well. Is it linked? Is there any medical evidence for the link there? I'll find out in just a few minutes.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Parts of Europe could see some heavy rain and some thundery downpours as we head our way into Wednesday. Mostly dry and settled across Greece, plenty of sunshine here, but through Italy, around the Adriatic coastline, also southern parts of France and Switzerland could see some heavy thundery downpours, a risk of large hail and also some strong gusty winds. Across Spain and Portugal, though, largely settled, plenty of sunshine, fairly similar across the Canary Islands too. A mostly settled end to the week with a chance of more showers heading into the weekend and temperatures in the mid-20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. You might need to turn your heating on again tonight as it is going to turn a little chilly once more with some clear skies and light winds, all due to an area of high pressure, the perfect ingredients for our temperatures to take a bit of a drop. Worth bearing in mind, we still have an occluded front across parts of the southeast, so a few showery bursts still to come here and a bit of showery rain pushing into some eastern parts overnight as well, but otherwise it is a dry picture with some lengthy clear skies. Like I said, those temperatures will be dropping. Towns and cities falling to mid to high single figures. Rural spots dipping close to or perhaps even a little bit below freezing in some places. So a touch of grass frost, even a bit of air frost perhaps, particularly across some parts of Scotland. Now, as we go through tomorrow morning, still some showers across parts of East Anglia and maybe Kent, and there may be a few other showers across southern parts through tomorrow itself, but generally dry. A band of cloud with some outbreaks of rain lingering across some central and northern parts of England. A dry start across Northern Ireland and mostly bright and fine across parts of Scotland, albeit just a little bit of cloud and a few spots of rain towards the far east and southeast. Through the day itself, that band of cloud and any rain's going to fizzle out as it gradually edges a bit further westward. So apart from one or two showers towards the south and maybe across some parts of Wales and southwest England, it is going to be a dry picture by the afternoon with some sunny breaks. Yes, clouds building through the day, but some decent sunshine on offer, and in the sunshine feeling warm enough even though temperatures are a touch below average for the time of year. Another chilly night to come as we go through tomorrow night and into Thursday, and then a fine picture through Thursday itself for most, though some blustery winds towards the northwest and also towards the southeast, and here there will be a bit more cloud and perhaps one or two showers. More fine weather on Friday, but by Saturday, well, that's when we could see a band of rain pushing its way in. Bye-bye.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has lashed out at President Trump over his claims that paracetamol could cause autism during pregnancy.
Ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good instead of one visit where they pump the baby, load it up with stuff. You'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times. I've been so into this issue for so many years because I couldn't understand how a thing like this could happen. And it's
Well, speaking earlier today, Wes Streeting urged Brits to trust doctors and medical experts over the president, stating there is no evidence to link autism and paracetamol. So who's right, President Trump or the Health Secretary? Well, joining me now is the Public Health Chair from New England Complex Systems Institute, Dr. Eric Fagleding. Thank you very much for joining me, Dr. Eric. Now, this is interesting, isn't it? Because the Trump administration has made quite a big song and dance about going after big pharma, tackling the health crisis in America. They get the movement that is headed up by RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., MAHA, which is Make America Healthy Again. Is this a dangerous statement, or is there something in it?
It's actually pretty dangerous because we actually know that the best studies in the world, the largest nationwide studies, actually the 2.5 million kids in Sweden, clearly showed there's zero increased risk with paracetamol, Tylenol, acetaminophen, and autism. Some of what the RFK Jr. and Trump are citing are these older studies, these really flawed, tiny, older studies that doesn't account for mother differences and family differences. Because the other factor is, why are you taking the Tylenol? It's because you have a fever, because you have some sort of infection. We know those can contribute to abnormal development in the child. So is it the underlying fever, or is it taking the Tylenol? And the best studies in the world, 2.5 million kids across the entire country of Sweden, as well as they did this in Norway, confirmed there's no increased risk once you properly adjust for this. And for them to claim, oh, let's just ignore the largest studies in the world, the best gold standard studies that are published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, kind of like akin to Lancet. Oh, let's just go to these tiny, smaller, dinkier studies that are just, and to cherry pick this, it's just ridiculous because, women, I wanted to emphasize, pregnant moms cannot have a lasting fever. It increases the risk of miscarriage. It increases risk of fetus being born with abnormalities and defects. You do not want a mother to carry a baby while carrying a fever. So pushing down the fever with Tylenol is absolutely important. And now if someone listens to this misinformation, they're going to walk around sweating with a fever, and they might have a miscarriage, and the baby will be harmed with a defect. And I think that's why it's so dangerous.
Yeah, and Doctor, there's been a rise in, at least people being diagnosed with autism in the last decade or so. I'm not sure if that's been replicated in America. I'd have to look at the statistics, but we certainly has here in the UK. Is there any harm in at least us trying new things and saying, look, we're trying to avoid paracetamol, maybe trying to avoid taking this, maybe just try and be as natural as possible throughout your pregnancy? And of course, America itself has a terrible health crisis. I've lived in the United States myself for a brief period of time, and I found the food very lackluster, full of sugars and different, what are they called? E-vitals, those sorts of things that can cause people to have cancers and things like that. So is there any harm in the government at least trying something new?
Well, trying something new, it has to be based on sound medical evidence and public health research. And right now, there isn't. I'm not saying America is a healthy place. America's healthcare system sucks. UK's healthcare system is not perfect. But I think recognizing just because it's not perfect, we should just, willy-nilly throw darts on the board without any evidence that something works or doesn't work is just ridiculous. And this is why, there's so many wellness influencers in this new day and age that are trying to, actually try to promote their own products or promote their own fame. I think people just need to recognize this has been taking billions of tablets by people around the world. And the best gold evidence studies from epidemiology shows there's clearly no increased risk. It's only cherry-picked studies that show the increased risk. And again, mothers will be harmed if they allow their fevers to fester while pregnant. And I think, we can't just be willy-nilly about this. We have to follow the science, the good science, and not the cherry-picked science.
One of the big problems that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has is that a lot of the sort of so-called senior doctors in America are in the pockets of big pharmaceutical companies. We don't have that problem here because our health service is nationalised. But is that a part of the problem with the system in America? Because you can't trust whether a doctor's being paid to write a study or paid to find certain, because we all know data can be subjective.
Well, first of all, if a doctor is being paid, there's online disclosures. You can look up if any doctor has been paid by anyone. And by the way, paracetamol, this is already a generic. It's literally pennies. There's no money to be made from this very old generic drug. It is made literally for pennies and sold around the world, from India to Europe. It's a very affordable drug. There is no big pharma money in this. You can say that maybe for some other drugs, but absolutely for this, there's none. And vaccines are also very rudimentary, inexpensive. There's no big pharma influence for most everyday affordable vaccines whatsoever. And to hand wave, it's just conflict of interest. Why does the Canadian Medical Associations, European Medical Association, why are they all promoting it? They're not in the pockets of pharma. You can't say that just because pharma is a big player in American politics.
All right, Dr. Fagleding, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this very, very, very interesting topic, frankly. We'll wait to see what happens, of course, as this story develops with the president's administration. And in a statement, Tylenol maker Kenvue said the science clearly shows that taking acetaminophen, I'm going to get another word wrong there, I'll give that over. Oh, that's my best shot. Does not cause autism. We strongly disagree with any suggestion otherwise and are deeply concerned with the health risk this poses for expecting mothers. There you go. Well, coming up, I'll be joined by a Dorset father who claims his 14-year-old daughter is being brainwashed and taught to feel guilty for being white. He joins me live in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live, every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. That was, of course, President Trump giving that remarkable speech at the UN earlier today. No auto cue. He was just going for it. And honestly, as a Londoner, I tend to agree with him, but maybe not the Sharia law stuff. We're not quite there yet, but London is looking pretty bad. But first, Dorset School has been forced to remove a book from its curriculum after a vicious backlash from concerned parents. 53-year-old James Farquharson claimed students were being fed partisan political views after the novel The Hate You Give was added to the Year 10 reading list at Budmouth Academy. The US novel follows an African-American girl who speaks out after witnessing a white police officer shoot her childhood friend. The book was part of the school's Drop Everything and Read initiative, which aims to get the students reading for short periods every day. Well, joining me now is the parent questioning the appropriateness of the school's material, John Farquharson. John, thank you so much for joining me. When I saw this story this morning, I was genuinely baffled, absolutely baffled at this material from America as part of the Black Lives Matter outburst, should we say, in our schools. John, what was your reaction when you found that your child had this?
So my daughter came to me a couple of weeks ago to say that she found reading this book out loud in front of her class and the teacher was both awkward and embarrassing. So I went and got hold of a copy of the book and started reading it. I understand the premise, which is what you've just outlined for us. So I expected to be quite appalled by the one-sided nature of the way they were presenting race relations, as in the white people were all the baddies, and so therefore they, my children who are white, are the baddies. But as I started to read the books myself, it transpired that not only was it full of that stuff, it was extremely foul-mouthed. 89 incidences of the one of the worst words in the English language, scenes of quite graphic sexual interaction between characters. So not only are they destabilizing their idea of themselves and potentially being divisive between other kids in the class who aren't white, they're normalizing terrible language and sexual stuff. It's not just this book as well. This book is on a nationally approved reading list, so any school in the country can choose from this list and teach it. Maybe they are, I don't know. But there's another book on the list called Pidgin English, that is being taught to year 8, so that's sort of 12 to 13-year-olds. And that's possibly even worse in terms of the language and the sexual content, not so much the race, but there's a problem in the system somewhere.
Absolutely.
I don't know where it's coming from. Someone has not picked what you might call classic books or the best works of fiction that are available today around the world. They've picked these kind of books, have given them to schools to select from, and then some of the schools, or certainly one school, has selected books featuring contested political ideology, plus normalizing foul language and sexual. I know kids do this sort of stuff in their spare time, but there's a difference between what they do with their mates.
Absolutely, absolutely,
and
John.
Formal learning situations, and so that's a good. All these things are a concern.
And John, can I ask you, were you ever consulted as a parent about what your child was reading? Was there at any point in time the school said, here's a list of the books that your child's reading, are you okay with this?
No, never. That is one of the things I think they need to do. They need to remove these two books in particular. They need to review the other ones as well. But in future, they need to be more upfront with what they're selecting from the approved list.
Absolutely.
There needs to be a conversation higher up about what gets onto the approved list as well.
Well, John, what do you think the purpose of, if I might ask your opinion, what the purpose of having these books and giving them, forcing them to read them out in front of a class, which I just cannot fathom any parent having to see their child do that. What do you think the purpose of it is?
It's probably more of a question for them, but my opinion, seeing as I'm here and I can give it, is they're trying to normalise different ways of viewing themselves, their relationships, society, race relations, and they're all doing that without the parents knowing it's happening. I wouldn't have known this was going on if my daughter quite bravely stepped up and said, I'm uncomfortable with this. I don't want to read this out in front of my peers and the teacher.
Yeah, and John, have you spoken to the school since then? Have the academy reached out to you? Have they apologised? Have they removed the books? What's happened since?
So there was a fair amount of toing and froing over email over a couple of weeks. They did eventually, once it blew up on Facebook locally, they then removed the hate you give from the school. There is still Pidgin English, and there was a couple of other points I'd like them to stress around reviewing the other books they're teaching that I've not heard anything further from them.
What would you prefer to see, John, if you don't mind, sorry to interrupt you, what would you prefer to be taught in schools? What kind of books would you like to see? Was there stuff that stood out to you as a young person when you were learning at school? Yeah,
sure. I mean, we learned the classics when I was a kid. Probably not even classics. People think like Greek. It wasn't really classics. But anyway, you know, Animal Farm and thinking of Mice and Men. But I do appreciate that times move on, and there will be more modern books that are potentially of high quality, explore some issues that are probably relevant to them. But this list just pushes that far too far. The 89 uses of the word, the scenes of a sexual nature, it's just not cool for 12, 13, 14-year-old. And also I've heard from parents, and it's not just the girls that are feeling awkward about this. Some of the boys don't want to read this out in front of their friends either. So yeah, fine, update the reading list, but be more careful about what you're doing, and try to allay my fears that you're not trying to brainwash my kids, the kids.
Absolutely right. John, thank you so much for joining me and telling us about that story. Absolutely shocked. I genuinely, I'm just absolutely gobsmacked that they are forcing kids to do this up and down the country. What a scandal. Thank you very much, John. A spokesperson for Budmouth Academy said this: following a review of our Year 10 reading list, we have taken the decision to remove The Hate You Give. We acknowledge that the novel raises important themes and is promoted as appropriate for readers that are aged 14+. However, after careful consideration, we have decided that there are alternative texts that raise similar themes which are better suited to our students in Year 10. A second book, Pidgin English, is under review, but is likely to remain on the curriculum as it is prescribed text for GCSE English by the exam boards. How about that, eh? God, what is going on in our education system? All right, coming up at 10.
It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
Yeah, it certainly feels like it after hearing that story, doesn't it? Well, that was that extraordinary speech where Trump warned that countries are being ruined and going to hell over open immigration. That's on the same day that an Ethiopian migrant was jailed for 12 months after sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl in Epping. So Trump just stating the obvious, isn't he? All of that, and we've got tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you in just a few minutes. But I'm telling you, that story about that Ethiopian migrant blew my mind. How long do you think he's going to get put away for? How long do you think it is until he's back on our streets? I'll be telling you all after the break.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. You might need to turn your heating on again tonight as it is going to turn a little chilly once more with some clear skies and light winds, all due to an area of high pressure, the perfect ingredients for our temperatures to take a bit of a drop. Worth bearing in mind, we still have an occluded front across parts of the southeast, so a few showery bursts still to come here and a bit of showery rain pushing into some eastern parts overnight as well, but otherwise it is a dry picture with some lengthy clear skies. Like I said, those temperatures will be dropping. Towns and cities falling to mid to high single figures. Rural spots dipping close to or perhaps even a little bit below freezing in some places. So a touch of grass frost, even a bit of air frost perhaps, particularly across some parts of Scotland. Now, as we go through tomorrow morning, still some showers across parts of East Anglia and maybe Kent, and there may be a few other showers across southern parts through tomorrow itself, but generally dry. A band of cloud with some outbreaks of rain lingering across some central and northern parts of England. A dry start across Northern Ireland and mostly bright and fine across parts of Scotland, albeit just a little bit of cloud and a few spots of rain towards the far east and southeast. Through the day itself, that band of cloud and any rain is going to fizzle out as it gradually edges a bit further westward. So apart from one or two showers towards the south and maybe across some parts of Wales and southwest England, it is going to be a dry picture by the afternoon with some sunny breaks. Yes, clouds building through the day, but some decent sunshine on offer, and in the sunshine feeling warm enough even though temperatures are a touch below average for the time of year. Another chilly night to come as we go through tomorrow night and into Thursday, and then a fine picture through Thursday itself for most, though some blustery winds towards the northwest and also towards the southeast, and here there will be a bit more cloud and perhaps one or two showers. More fine weather on Friday, but by Saturday, well, that's when we could see a band of rain pushing its way in. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong in for Patrick Christys. Tonight,
It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. Let's see, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
yes, on the same day that President Trump unleashed on the United Nations over its failed open borders experiment, an Ethiopian migrant was jailed for 12 months after sexually assaulting a schoolgirl in Epping. Well, Trump's right, isn't he? Migration is ruining Britain. Also tonight, massive warnings over Angela Rayner's Islamophobia definition, with claims it might allow grooming gangs to act with impunity. And breaking news on the front page of the Daily Mail tonight, the Prime Minister's top aide, Morgan McSweeney, is fighting for his job tonight after a bombshell leaked email shows the top Labour lawyer advised him to describe £700,000 in hidden donations as a mistake. Oof, not good. Plus, I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages with you. Political commentator Chloe Dobbs, GB News contributor Will Kingston, and journalist Jonathan Liss. Oh, and President Trump also got stuck into Sadiq Khan today, didn't he?
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that.
Terrible, Mayor. It's really changed. Your Tuesday night starts right here. We'll be going live to Bev Turner in Washington for more on that astonishing speech from President Trump at the UN today. All of that and so much more after your headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Alex, thank you very much and good evening. The top stories. Donald Trump told the UN General Assembly today that it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders as he accused the UN of facilitating an invasion of Western countries. Mr. Trump said the European continent is in serious trouble over migration, while also criticising its failure to cut off Russian energy products as embarrassing. The US president also hit back at countries recognising Palestinian statehood, saying doing so would be a reward for the terrible atrocities Hamas has committed, as he told the terror group to release the hostages now. It comes after Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper confirmed Britain now recognises Palestinian statehood, warning the two-state solution is in profound peril.
Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire.
A 59-year-old man has been found guilty of trying to assassinate Donald Trump on a golf course in September last year. Ryan Ruth was arrested after a rifle was seen poking through the bushes at Mr. Trump's West Palm Beach golf course in Florida. The incident occurred weeks after a bullet grazed the president's ear in another assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania. Ruth pleaded not guilty to all 5 charges against him and opted to defend himself in court. But he was found guilty of all counts following a trial in Florida. Reports say he tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen when the verdict was being read. Now, Sir Ed Davey told the Lib Dem conference today not to let Nigel Farage turn the UK into Donald Trump's America. He said the Lib Dems want to transform our economy, our public services and our politics before pivoting to say Nigel Farage wants to change the UK away from the country we love. Davey also issued a direct message to disaffected Tory voters thinking of switching away from their traditional party.
Imagine living in the Trump-inspired country Farage wants us to become, where there's no NHS. So patients are hit with crippling insurance bills or denied healthcare altogether. That is Trump's America. Don't let it become Farage's Britain. Conference, I've lost count of the people who've told me they voted Conservative all their lives, but now they switch to the Liberal Democrats. And not just because they feel so badly let down by their old party, but because they see their values reflected best in our party.
And finally, local TV stations say they will not air Jimmy Kimmel Live, despite Disney-owned ABC bringing back the comedian's late-night show, a week after he was suspended for comments he made about the killing of Charlie Kirk. Nexstar and Sinclair, which together runs dozens of stations affiliated to ABC, said they would continue to replace the show with regular programming. Sinclair's vice-chairman Jason Smith said Mr Kimmel's remarks were inappropriate and deeply insensitive at a critical moment for our country. The comedian's show was pulled off air last week after his monologue about the shooting of Charlie Kirk caused uproar. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, I'll be back in an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hadush Kabatu, an Ethiopian illegal migrant who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl just days after breaking into our country via a small boat, has been slapped with a pathetic 12 months behind bars. The 38-year-old paedophile told two teenagers he wanted to have a baby with each of them and attempted to kiss them before going on to stroke one of the girl's thighs and hair. Oh, and let's not forget the adult woman he tried the same predatory routine on, leaving her screaming into the phone, "Get away from the kids." This sick monster, housed in the now infamous Bell Hotel in Epping, taxpayer-funded, is the man who sparked nationwide protests outside illegal migrant hotels as he proved what the Stand Up to Racism and, frankly, far-left establishment politicians had said wasn't happening, that some of these illegal migrants are dangerous criminals, a threat to women and girls that should never have been allowed to step foot in our country in the first place. 12 months is all this horrible man is getting. And this farce of a sentence means he could be outside by Christmas. He claimed he didn't understand how strict the rules were here. What kind of defence is that? Is it okay to sexually assault school children in Ethiopia? And if it is, why do our government allow any men from that country ever into Britain? Meanwhile, that poor girl will spend the rest of her life traumatised, her parents inevitably fearing for her safety every day. It's not hyperbole to say she'll be glancing over her shoulder while she walks to school over the way. I might be feeling too exposed. Every damn day she might be feeling like that. Well, Kabatu, however, will continue to be housed and fed 3 times a day in prison. In fact, I'd go as far as saying it's probably better than any accommodation he'd live in Ethiopia. And once he leaves the slammer, I'm sure he'll be greeted with more free accommodation and benefits paid for by you at home if he can't be deported. Which you never know with the ECHR, do you? Well, it's safe to say Donald Trump is right, isn't he?
When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
It never ends there, though, does it? Just last week, an Egyptian boat jumper lounging in a 4-star London hotel on our dime got 8.5 years for raping a woman in Hyde Park, luring her to a secluded spot like it's a hunting ground. Then there's the Iranian illegal paedophile who stalked and raped a 15-year-old girl in broad daylight on a Falkirk street, bagging 9 years only after cops hauled him off the pavement. And that's before we tally the 200-plus asylum hotel residents charged with crimes this year alone. Sexual assaults, violence, the lot. It's not a blip, is it? It's an epidemic fuelled by unchecked arrivals and a system that prioritises illegal foreign criminals' rights over ours. We're losing control, aren't we? Our streets, our safety, our country, to Strasbourg, to the activist judiciary, who seemingly care more about diversity and inclusion than the safety of British citizens. This is nothing short of a political revolution, in my strong opinion, will end this crisis, and it cannot come soon enough. I want to get the thoughts of my panel here. Jonathan List, journalist, Chloe Dobbs, political commentator, and GB News commentator, Will Kingston. Hello, guys. Bit of a long walk. I never get the walk. I'm just right here. A very serious story, though, Will, because this country's been grappling with this illegal hotel crisis. Illegal migrants coming to this country for quite some time now. No government seems to take this issue very seriously. I know Keir Starmer is saying he's going to shut down the hotels, but that still doesn't mean there won't be illegal migrants in this country. What happened today with that 12-month sentence, in my opinion, is a complete farce. The guy's going to be out probably by Christmas. What on earth can we do?
It's repulsive, is the short answer, Alex. And I'm sick of being gaslit on this subject, on this channel, by the lefties that we have on, that somehow say that there's no relationship between the culture that someone comes from and the prevalence at which they are likely to commit sexual assault. Anyone who's been to a holiday in Egypt or much of Africa and has seen what happens when you go with a woman and seen what happens when you are treated by the local population there, you know that when you come from a culture that has very different, and I would argue far worse attitudes towards women, you are going to be more likely to bring those attitudes in. That's exactly what's happened in the case of this Ethiopian man. Now, in terms of your question as to what we can do about it, it is very simple. Stop them from coming into the country. And if they do get into the country, you detain them, you put them in a secure area where they cannot get out and they are not a risk to the population, which is exactly, by the way, what Australia did to solve this problem. And as a result of that, you don't have illegal migrants walking around the streets of Sydney sexually assaulting young girls.
Chloe, you're a young woman in this capital city here, London. This crisis obviously is here. Hyde Park was where this woman was raped. A massive park in London. You know, you'd think this could never happen in London, wouldn't you? Especially in somewhere like Hyde Park, where it's such a big park, but there's so many people there. This crisis seems to be spiralling out of control. We're getting these stories almost weekly. I still go back to this 12-month sentence. For a man, it seems exceptionally dangerous. Not only did this to 2 children, but also to an adult woman. Shouldn't we just be deporting them immediately? Do we really need to be paying for their prison time?
Well, it would be great if we could deport this guy, but it sounds like we're probably going to struggle to do so. So he's got a 12-month sentence. That means that he only has to spend 6 months in prison. But the 2.5 months he's already been there since he was remanded in custody on the 10th of July means he's only going to have a few more months there. Now, what's going to happen after that? Now, the Labour government were boasting about the new legislation they brought in, which means that they can deport people after just 30% of their sentence. But they've only got these agreements to deport first and appeal later with 23 countries. Ethiopia is not one of those. And so they're going to really struggle to deport this guy back to where he came from. So it looks like he's going to be back on the streets in a very short space of time. I don't know if they'll send him back to Epping or somewhere else. And that's going to really concern people. And I think that we've got a big issue in this country of inadequate sentences being given out for sexual assaults and rapes. I think the Sentencing Council need to do a massive review over the guidance they give to judges. Because, I mean, it's not just this. We've seen it, for example, with grooming gangs, where people who have raped a huge number of children over and over and over again being given only something like 2 years.
The Sentencing Council, Chloe, unfortunately, I don't trust the Sentencing Council as far as you can throw them. They spend more time worrying about whether they can actually reduce sentences for people that have come here illegally than they have actually trying to stop these people.
I mean, everyone's just looked at this and immediately thought 12 months versus 31 months for Lucy Connolly for a tweet. There's surely an issue with the sentencing guidelines in this country.
Jonathan, the problem many people have got is that this man should just be going home. And we know that with the Article 3 in ECHR, he'll claim that he'll be killed if he goes back to Ethiopia and all these things. Frankly, I couldn't care. I couldn't care what happens to this man. Most British people don't care what happens to these people. He is a nasty criminal. He's a paedophile. He should just be deported, shouldn't he?
Alex, a magistrate is only able to sentence someone up to a maximum of 12 months.
This was entirely baked in from the beginning, as a cursory glance at Google would have told anyone on this panel. A magistrate is only able, and I'll tell you one thing, a magistrate was only able to give 6 months of prison until this government increased it to 12 months. So you can wring your hands and say, how could the sentence have been 12 months? Well, you should have known that because it wasn't tried by jury. It was done in a magistrate's court. If it had been, if the case had been deemed serious enough to have gone into a Crown Court, there would have been a jury. If there would have been a jury, well, that's a matter. Well, that's not a problem for. That's not a question for the magistrate. The magistrate was only able to sentence up to 12 months because it wasn't a rape, for example, which could have brought a more serious sentence. I don't think that anyone on this panel suggests that an asylum seeker should get a stronger sentence than someone from Britain just on account of being an asylum seeker. Well, that is a ludicrous argument.
I think if a Brit committed the same crime, then they should get a longer sentence.
Because at the end of the day, when people are welcomed into this country, they are given bed and board, given security in a hotel, living better than some veterans who are on our streets, and then they go off literally days after arriving in this country and molest a child and then harass a woman. I think they should be having a harsher sentence, frankly. They need to be set an example for these people because they keep on doing it. If the sentences were tough enough,
they keep on doing it. The vast majority of sex offenders in this country are white Brits.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
We have a problem in our culture as well, Alex.
Our problem, Jonathan. Those people are our problem. We should deal with them robustly. I totally agree. But when people come to this country and they take the mick out of our system, they take the mick out of our goodwill, they set an example.
Well, I'll tell you another thing that's not allowed, and that's collective punishment. So just because you have one bad apple, it doesn't mean that you should throw the baby out of the bathwater and say that no one, for example, should be granted asylum from a certain country because there might be 1 or 2 people from that country who commit offences.
Yes, you absolutely should, because you should be putting the British people first. I don't care about your notions of fairness and collective punishment or collective acceptance or whatever stupid kind of philosophical point of view that you came up with in some sort of university grade course. The fact of the matter is there is no value to the British people of Ethiopian illegal migrants being in this country. If you can put forward a business case towards me, Jonathan, which says this is why we should have Ethiopian illegal migrants in this country, I'll have a look at it. But the fact of the matter is you can't do that. And even if it is a small percentage of that total population, that is a danger towards women and children, that is an unacceptable risk. It's as simple as that.
Is your criticism now that philosophical ideas gleaned at university are somehow bad because that's the entire sort of liberal values that this country has allegedly been built on? And by the way, this guy, according to the BBC, this guy wants to be deported after he served his sentence. So the idea that the government would fight that seems slightly ludicrous.
My problem is that we're now being run by these sorts of philosophical ideas as opposed to the common sense of what is in the best interests.
Yeah, well, Will, I hate to break it to you, but for what the bile that Farage spews can also be learnt at university. Universities are not the problem here.
Chloe.
Aside from the philosophy, let's move away from that. What I would say is that if we are going to save anybody, take refugees in this country, look, there are so many people in suffering around the world. We should take the ones that need our help the most and the ones who are least likely to go on to commit crimes like this. Who are the people that need our help the most? It's the women and children. Rather than taking all of these men from places like Afghanistan, where women are treated awfully, why don't we take the women and children who are suffering at the hands of the Taliban through legal routes and have no illegal migration whatsoever?
Do you know why we can't do that? Because the government refuses to implement safe and legal routes. So the only routes that people have, unless they're from Hong Kong or Ukraine, is to come on an unseaworthy vessel run by those criminal gangs, and that's why most women and children don't actually do it.
I do think we need to improve the system with legal routes. But it's not one or the other.
I don't care. It is not our problem. End of story.
Use ours, by the way, Will. Use ours. Yeah. Why do you always use the first person plural? As far as I'm aware, you're not a British citizen. So where does the we come from?
The we comes from this is a problem that Western civilization is facing.
What does Western civilization mean? What does Western civilization mean? Do you just mean white people?
Jonathan, we've spoken about interrupting on live television. It is not good TV.
We've spoken about a lot of things. Well.
As we've said on live TV, not good television, Jonathan. Now, Western civilization, which includes most of Europe, which includes Australia, which includes the United States, are falling for the same problem of mass migration and not securing their borders. That is the angle that I come from. And the business case, as I said, does not stack up for this, particularly when you have people in this country, indeed in Australia, indeed in the United States, who are suffering as a result of not putting resources and time towards them. You put people in your own country first.
Brief final word for Jonathan. Go on.
Well, what you really just mean is white people and white countries. And I don't actually think that business is more important than the fundamental groundings of human rights and morality, and that's where you and I differ.
OK, well, look, yeah, this is not going to be the last case I'm sure we read of in the press, and I don't think this will be the last time we talk about this big issue. Anyway, we're a slight change in tone here because it's time for our latest Great British giveaway, and it's our biggest prize to date, worth over 100 grand. It includes a 4-berth motorhome worth over 74 grand and 30k in tax-free cash. Here's the details.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. Well, coming up, I'll have the very first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and President Trump's astonishing speech at the UN today is dominating the headlines.
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed. So changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that.
I just love it. I think he's brilliant. But before that, Tories have today claimed that Labour's Islamophobia definition will allow Pakistani rape gangs to carry out their crimes with, quote, impunity. See you soon.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson is being praised for his role in inspiring the next generation of farmers. His documentary shows the ups and downs of British farm life, and now the Royal Agricultural University in Gloucestershire has credited it with a rise in applications. Good stuff, eh? We can now speak with the agriculture student at Gloucestershire's Hartpury University, Joseph Watkins. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me. What a scene you've got there. Do you think it's going to inspire another generation? You're a young man yourself. How has it inspired you at all?
For anyone watching, it's just amazing to see, isn't it? All the different steps they take, all the different revenues which they can create on farm. So I think it's really good for the public. And if it does something to help get people into the industry, I think that's an amazing thing. Agriculture has both a lack of skilled talent and just a lack of people in the industry anyway. So if someone wants to go and do a college course or university course to get into the agriculture industry because they watch Jeremy Clarkson, this old pot-bellied Top Gear man, then I think it's great. And I say that with all due respect. I love Top Gear.
Well, we were talking about the ups and downs of farm life. What are the, first of all, let's start with the ups. What are the ups?
They're pretty beautiful ladies, you know, surrounded by 600 lovely ladies. That's certainly something. Working outside, you know, you're working with your hands. It's definitely a rewarding experience to be able to go home after a long day and think, right, everything's taken care of. All of these cows are all happy. Some of the downs, it's difficult, isn't it? You've heard this, I'm sure you know. The family farm tax has been in the news lately. At the early mornings, late nights, being away from friends and family, strenuous jobs and, you know, often at times dangerous. So there's ups and downs to it, but as you can see now, I think the positives outweigh the negatives for me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
The President of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake.
Absolutely bang on as ever, isn't he? Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. And that was, of course, President Trump speaking at the United Nations today. Well, his comments are dominating tomorrow's front pages, and I'll bring you them shortly. We'll talk about it as well. But first, in a chilling intervention, the Tories have today claimed that Labour's Islamophobia definition will allow Pakistani rape gangs to carry out their crimes with, quote, impunity. The policy was the former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner's, who set up a working group to consult on the exact wording and scope of the definition before she, of course, resigned in disgrace. Writing in the Times today, the Shadow Equalities Minister, Claire Cortino, has warned this. A state-sanctioned definition of Islamophobia will intensify the culture of censorship that allowed the grooming gangs to carry out their crimes with impunity. It will shut down difficult but necessary conversations about grooming gangs, gender equality, and even Islamist extremism. It would create a special status for one group above others, which risks further breeding resentment and making our community cohesion problems worse. Well, I'm now joined by parliamentary candidate for Bethnal Green and Stepney, Tasneem Okunji. Tasneem, thank you so much for joining me. This is a slightly worrying development, at least from the Tories' perspective here. We have spoke about this quite a lot on this channel. Islamophobia is something that we are worried will shut down free speech, and the Tories are clearly worried that it will create impunity for those willing to carry out horrific crimes like the grooming gang crisis we face. What do you make of it?
Well, it's complete nonsense, isn't it, really? The grooming gang problem existed well before a definition of Islamophobia or otherwise. There is no forced definition of Islamophobia for government, and the grooming gang scandal was going on for decades under the Tory government as well as the Labour government. In fact, we've had, Jimmy Savile carrying on the way he was as the emperor of all paedophiles, protected by the BBC, effectively, for decades. So this grooming gang problem has got nothing to do with definitions. It's got everything to do with people in power covering up for actual paedophiles because of the embarrassment that they will show, their lack of resourcing and their lack of interest in the safety of children has been the practice of all these decades.
Yeah, and I certainly do agree. I certainly agree with you on that point. But what I do disagree with you on is the ability for people to hide behind legislation and laws like this. And I've read the Labour's definition of Islamophobia, and it conflates race and religion. It does. It conflates the two things. And if we're going to be seeing that as the standard bearer, how can we tackle something in a community that might be prolific, as we have seen with the Pakistani community, without it being used as, to cover them and say this is Islamophobic?
No, I think you raise an important point, and I'm very much against any definition. And the reason we can say that the definitions allow for people to get away with crimes with impunity is because we've got an anti-Semitism definition, which allowed things like UK laws for Israel to shut down opposing voices on the issue of the genocide in Gaza and allow the impunity of state-sanctioned providing of weapons to Israel to happen. So I completely agree. I think that there shouldn't be a definition of Islamophobia, and there shouldn't be a definition of anti-Semitism rammed down everyone's necks, because behind these definitions, certain weaponization takes place.
Yeah, I certainly agree on that. Is there an issue here that for some communities, we hear these stats thrown around like there's a 1,000% increase in Islamophobia, there's a 1,000% increase in anti-Semitism, and these stats worry politicians who are then forced to do something about it, particularly in communities where you might have a high concentration of certain ethnicities or certain people from specific religions. Is that why we're talking about this? Is this just peer pressure on MPs who are being forced to act and curtail free speech? I mean, I totally agree. I don't want any definitions of this stuff. We have gone absolutely mad with these things, and it sends people into this power spin. Should we be looking into that?
Well, I think the problem we have had, particularly with the Tories who are a little bit, hypocritical about this, is when you've got a Prime Minister who talks about a particular community, and that being Boris Johnson, calling people letterboxers and bank robbers, then of course a Prime Minister in a country using disparaging comments about a particular community is going to lead to more negative focus on that community, and you're going to get a bunch of thugs who are going to do stupid things on the back of that. So frankly, what we need is more responsibility from those in media and those who are our leaders in Parliament, rather than legislating against the idiocy of drumming up all of the problems that they've created. So I'd rather we don't have definitions, but we have responsible governance.
Indeed. And what do you make of it's like tangent, but similar theme here? Ed Davey, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, out calling people like Nigel Farage far right, saying he's a threat to democracy. These sorts of things are very inflammatory, and many people will be very upset by them. But should he be allowed to say it?
Well, we live in a free country, so we should be able to say the things we want to say. And I think that I can trust Nigel Farage to be robust in his reply to that. I don't think Nigel Farage needs any protection. And this is where we have a parliamentary system where words are thrown about, accusations can be made and ideas tested, so that a rebuttal can be made. And because we use words in a particular arena, we don't have violence. And that's what people forget, is that the use of words and governance is what avoids the thugs in our country to go out and do violence to one another.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining me. That's parliamentary candidate for Bethnal Green and Stepney, Tasneem Akunji. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Well, coming up, I'll bring you the very first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and breaking news on the front page of the Daily Mail. The Prime Minister's top aide, Morgan McSweeney, is fighting for his job tonight after a bombshell leaked email shows a top Labour lawyer advised him to describe 700 grand in hidden donations as a mistake. Can this government keep on doing this? It's almost weekly, isn't it? Plus, I'll bring you more from President Trump's astonishing speech at the United Nations today. Don't go anywhere.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Parts of Europe could see some heavy rain and some thundery downpours as we head our way into Wednesday. Mostly dry and settled across Greece, plenty of sunshine here, but through Italy, around the Adriatic coastline, also southern parts of France and Switzerland could see some heavy thundery downpours, a risk of large hail and also some strong gusty winds. Across Spain and Portugal, though, largely settled, plenty of sunshine, fairly similar across the Canary Islands too. A mostly settled end to the week with a chance of more showers heading into the weekend and temperatures in the mid-20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. You might need to turn your heating on again tonight, as it is going to turn a little chilly once more with some clear skies and light winds, all due to an area of high pressure, the perfect ingredients for our temperatures to take a bit of a drop. Worth bearing in mind, we still have an occluded front across parts of the southeast, so a few showery bursts still to come here, and a bit of showery rain pushing into some eastern parts overnight as well, but otherwise it is a dry picture with some lengthy clear skies. Like I said, those temperatures will be dropping. Towns and cities falling to mid to high single figures. Rural spots dipping close to or perhaps even a little bit below freezing in some places. So a touch of grass frost, even a bit of air frost perhaps, particularly across some parts of Scotland. Now, as we go through tomorrow morning, still some showers across parts of East Anglia and maybe Kent, and there may be a few other showers across southern parts through tomorrow itself, but generally dry. A band of cloud with some outbreaks of rain lingering across some central and northern parts of England. A dry start across Northern Ireland, and mostly bright and fine across parts of Scotland, albeit just a little bit of cloud and a few spots of rain towards the far east and southeast. Through the day itself, that band of cloud and any rain is going to fizzle out as it gradually edges a bit further westward. So apart from 1 or 2 showers towards the south and maybe across some parts of Wales and southwest England, it is going to be a dry picture by the afternoon with some sunny breaks. Yes, clouds building through the day, but some decent sunshine on offer, and in the sunshine feeling warm enough even though temperatures are a touch below average for the time of year. Another chilly night to come as we go through tomorrow night and into Thursday, and then a fine picture through Thursday itself for most, though some blustery winds towards the northwest and also towards the southeast, and here there will be a bit more cloud and perhaps 1 or 2 showers. More fine weather on Friday, but by Saturday, well, that's when we could see a band of rain pushing its way in. Bye-bye.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Boy, oh boy, are the front pages exceptional, I'll tell you that for sure. Let's start, shall we? The Telegraph. Trump says the West is going to hell over migration. The Sun. Danny Dyer quits strictly after injury. That's not Danny, that's his daughter, obviously, but yeah, anyway, you get it. The Metro. US Sim Farm plot smashed. The Express. 500,000 to lose winter fuel payments. The Mirror. World's most powerful man baby. They've got the words deranged under there. The Daily Mail. This is what we're going to be talking about straight away. Email dams Starmer's top aide in 740k donations. Wow. Whew, that's a big... Another one, really. I mean, they've literally had phase 2 for, what, less than a month? And this could be another resignation. It looks potentially likely. So let's just dig into this here. So Morgan McSweeney, the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister, is accused in this allegation, or exclusive here by the Daily Mail. They're saying a top Labour lawyer advised Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, to describe 740k in hidden donations as an admin error, a leaked email reveals. There's something going on in Downing Street, isn't there? There's a bit of warring, because these sorts of things don't leak by themselves. Let's bring in my panel. Will, shocking revelation here. What do we make of it?
Shocking but unsurprising, Alex, because, as you said, it is now following a pattern. It's a maxim of politics that it is very rarely the initial act that gets you into trouble as much as the cover-up, and it would appear that this is yet another cover-up from this government. Now, we've said this before on various shows, Alex, we've talked about this, where it is the problem for this government is because they set themselves these incredibly high standards, because they've said we're going to bring integrity back into politics, and quite frankly, because they don't have any other story to hang their hat on, these types of things hit particularly hard for them.
Jonathan, not looking good for the Prime Minister to have another one of these potential scandals here. I mean, we might learn more about this tomorrow. I'm sure someone's going to have to say something. But Morgan McSweeney obviously embroiled in the Mandelson scandal as well. It's looking like if you're dominating the headlines, you've normally got to go.
Alex, this guy is kryptonite for the government. I think that anyone who actually wants a successful Labour government should, in perversity, be getting behind the Daily Mail, because this guy has led Keir Starmer down nothing but cul-de-sacs the last year plus. He has got this insane strategy of appealing solely to a narrow cohort of voters who will never, ever vote for Labour. The people who are already fully on the Farage bandwagon. They are not going for Labour. And so what you have is McSweeney just sort of dragging Labour down this dead end, or rather to the cliff edge, in this forlorn hope that they can sort of turn the tide, where actually a winning coalition would involve putting forward a progressive centre-left platform that could get, the Lib Dems, the Greens, the people who would perhaps vote for Corbyn's Tea Party. Every single election we've had in the last 15 years suggests there is a narrow majority in favour of that sort of centrist, centre-left platform. The people who are going to vote for reform are already on that reform list.
Chloe, what do you make of this? Just give a little bit more context to this Daily Mail front page here, because this is all we've got so far, by the way. The crisis engulfing Morgan McSweeney deepened after the bombshell email shed new light on a notorious episode in which his think tank was fined in 2021 for 20 breaches of electoral law involving undeclared donations. So this is something that's followed him around, Chloe.
Yeah, well, so this email, it's been posted on Twitter. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but the email is from back in 2021. It's taken until now to come out of the woodworks. It does ask the question, has this been leaked by someone in part? Maybe Keir Starmer, although he's had a lot of scandals, wants this to come out so that he can get rid of Morgan McSweeney, blame him for the Mandelson stuff and try and move on. I don't know. But this is really, really damning. And that email you've got the lawyers asking lots and lots of long questions to McSweeney over various donations and saying at the end, look, if you can't answer all these long questions, I think the best we can do is argue that it's been an admin error. But an admin error over 739 grand, it's quite hard to just put your hands up and say, sorry, I messed up a little bit.
I mean, I'd love to have an admin error that gave me... I mean, not saying east, obviously, but 700 grand is a bit of a big error, isn't it? Also, the Tories are calling for the police to investigate and take this further now, Will.
Yeah, and of course they would, and they're right to do so. I don't think this has come from Starmer, because Starmer and McSweeney's fate in so many ways are intertwined. Yes. It was McSweeney who basically built Starmer from being a blank slate into, well, still a blank slate, but a blank slate who became Prime Minister. And in fairness, that was actually a heck of a political effort in terms of strategy. But I think Jonathan's right that for the last year he's become a liability, but he's a liability that is inextricably tied to the Starmer project, if you can call it a project.
But I think if Starmer were to get a better advisor, now obviously the buck has to stop with the leader.
Are you available? Are you saying you're available, Jonathan?
I don't think that he would have me. But I think ultimately, if you were to have a better team around Starmer, it would certainly be a start. It wouldn't be a panacea. It wouldn't be a silver bullet. But because the problem that we have is that we don't know whether Starmer genuinely believes the stuff he says, or if he is this sort of tabula rasa that is impressionable by whoever's around him, or if he is, as I suspect, generally quite a progressive centre-left politician, as was the evidence before he became Labour leader, but he's just got these people around him who are sort of dripping this right-wing poison in his ear. He's never going to out Farage.
But isn't it extraordinary that we don't know that? That we have a leader who's now been leader for over a year, opposition leader for several years, who's been in the public eye in one way, shape or form for well over a decade, and yet we still don't know if he is a man of principle or if he is a man who is just seizing the moment for political expediency. I think the fact that you can't answer that question, I'm not saying you, Jonathan, I'm saying none of us can, is just an extraordinary reflection on the leader that we have.
Yeah, and
I just want to give you this information, Chloe, because we know that the Prime Minister is still giving Morgan McSweeney his full confidence at this time. We've seen how well that's gone down for Keir Starmer before.
Yeah,
possibly another
we saw what happened with Mandelson, so that means absolutely nothing. That could mean that he's gone tomorrow, and I think there is a good chance that he will go, and that will be very embarrassing for the Labour government, where it just seems you can't even keep up with the number of resignations. I mean, we were reminded recently in the long list, Louise Haigh had to go at the beginning. I was thinking, I kind of forgot about that. Because
forgot about that one as well.
There've been so many resignations happening. And Morgan McSweeney, I think that they thought that he was this great guy to have on the team because he helped Starmer get this huge majority. There's a big difference between being good at election strategy and being good whilst they are in government, and they've clearly been terrible at comms. As Will says, after a year of Labour, we still don't really know what Starmer stands for. We don't really hear much about any good that they've done. They're not good at communicating.
That's the most important point. They are achieving things, but they're not good at communicating any of them.
Indeed. Well, the Prime Minister's official spokesman said Sir Keir Starmer continued to have his full confidence in his chief of staff, despite the growing controversy. Let me just read it again for you. So just so we've got to read this, make sure this is taken seriously, because this is the Prime Minister's official spokesman, everybody. He said, or they said, Sir Keir Starmer continued to have full confidence in his Chief of Staff despite the growing controversy. Labour Together has been asked to respond to the latest revelations, and earlier this week a spokesman said this. Labour Together proactively raised concerns about its own reporting of donations to the Electoral Commission in 2020. Their investigation, which with Labour Together fully cooperated, was completed in 2021. The outcome was made public. Oh, dearie me. Well, coming up, more front pages. The Eye. Reeves is facing a £30 billion black hole as pressure grows for tax hikes in her budget. Well, we knew this was coming, didn't we? Tax hikes are coming, everybody. This is Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christys tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
What on earth is going on at our universities? So Professor Stephen Greer had worked for the University of Bristol for 36 years when his career was halted after a false accusation of Islamophobia. The issue arose when Greer taught about the Charlie Hebdo attacks during a human rights module, and a student who didn't actually attend the course complained. Well, I'm delighted now to be joined by Stephen Greer himself to explain what happened. Stephen, thank you very much. Tremendous to have you on the show. Can you just explain the circumstances that led up to you being accused of Islamophobia, please?
Well, out of the blue, or almost out of the blue, I received a complaint about a module I'd been teaching on a unit, a human rights unit, entitled Islam, China and the Far East, for nearly 15 years without incident. Which included the increasing critical literature about human rights issues in Islam, China, and the Far East. And my principally, as I said, the principal complaint, it did include a complaint about Charlie Hebdo, but the principal complaint was about the fact that I had referred students to the authoritative academic literature. And the student who complained was the president of BRISOC, the University of Bristol Islamic Society, who was a medical student who had not attended any of the course himself, and he claimed to be acting on behalf of anonymous students. And there were all kinds of other procedural irregularities in the complaint, but the university decided to entertain it anyway. Okay. And I was exonerated after a 5-month inquiry. Then the university said, well, they were publicly announced. They took the module off the syllabus.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We've got more front pages to go through now. Shall we start? The Eye paper. Reeves facing £30 billion black hole, or hole as they call it, as pressure grows for tax hikes in her budget. Well. The Guardian, Trump tells European leaders your countries are going to hell. The Independent, Trump tells UN your countries are going to hell over immigration. And The Times, shoot down Russian jets in NATO skies says Trump. We just can't escape the big man, can we? We can't escape the Donald. He wants to be talked about, and he's going to have a great time. We're going to have a fantastic time, Will. Should we maybe just bring up the front page of the Daily Mirror? Because they are really making a mockery of Donald Trump, aren't they? They're going, the world's most powerful man, baby. Trump rants to UN about climate, migrants, Gaza, Sadiq's Sharia London, escalators, marble floors and teleprompters. Did you catch the speech?
I caught snippets of it. I can't say I've watched all of it, but I feel like I've got the vibe.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, Alex, is that he is more in touch with the prevailing sentiment across the UK, obviously across the US, and increasingly across much of Europe than those leaders that he was speaking to. Because people across Europe, across the US and across the UK are incredibly concerned about mass migration and immigration. It is the story of our times. It doesn't matter whether or not you agree with him or not, it is the defining issue of our times. He is more in touch with environmental and energy policy. He's more in touch with broader, well, even if I'm not fully in agreement with some of his more protectionist economic policies, it is definitely where the prevailing sentiment is going. So people like the Mirror can laugh at him and go he's deranged, but the fact of the matter is he is feeling the winds of change across the world, and he is very much running with them.
Chloe, I want to get your thoughts of this video here. Let's just play this clip of Trump talking about Sadiq Khan.
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that.
It's just the best entertainment. Chloe, terrible, man. Terrible. What do you make of it?
I mean, I think fair play, given that Keir Starmer and his team have been told, well, not just around the state visit, but since they came into power, to be a bit kinder to Donald Trump compared to what they've said in the past. But Sadiq Khan has not been playing ball at all and has been happy to rip into Donald Trump. And this feud has gone on for years. They've been saying things about each other for ages. But I think Donald Trump's criticism of him, as funny as it is, I think it's quite right. Because, I mean, you've got a mayor of London who doesn't seem to care about knife crime at all. We've had knife crime up 40%, potentially even higher, according to the Policy Exchange report, whilst he's been in power. And he's more interested in talking about renaming the overground lines and DEI. It's just ridiculous.
Sorry, did I miss the bit where Sadiq Khan was implementing Sharia law in London? Because you just said he was right what he said about Sadiq Khan, and you just said that he was implementing Sharia law. Did he do that? Did I miss that?
No, I'm not saying every single thing.
That was the only thing.
Right.
That was the only thing he said about him. The only thing he said about him was that he was impleting Sharia law. You just said that was right.
No,
but that's not right, is it?
I've been talking about his general attacks on Sadiq Khan.
Right. He just said he just told the UN Assembly.
I do think that he is right to raise concerns about Sharia law in this country. We have Sharia courts in this country. I think that was a little bit of a, exaggeration there to say Sadiq Khan himself is implementing it. But I think that there is a concern when you've got Sadiq Khan. Do you remember before the general election there was that video when Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer sat down on the sofa and had a little boys' heart-to-heart about Islamophobia and how he was saying we really need to crack down on Islamophobia online. No mention of anti-Semitism, that at the time there'd been a lot of that with the protests that go on every Saturday.
Yeah, Jonathan, I mean, it's a weird feud, isn't it? I mean, it's not the feud I ever anticipated in politics, the President of the United States versus the Mayor of London, but Sadiq Khan has given it back. I mean, he has been goading Donald Trump. He put obviously a front-page attack out on Donald Trump in The Guardian, for goodness sake. So it's only fair that Donald Trump's going to come back and
it's not fair, and I can't believe that this panel seems to applaud a US president denigrating our capital city and our elected mayor in front of the UN General Assembly with racist falsehoods. The idea that because we are identifying Sadiq Khan with Sharia law, there is only one thing that is, and that is racist. If it's like saying, because if we had a Jewish mayor that's saying that, well, we have a Jewish mayor, therefore they want to implement religious Jewish law across London, that would be racist too. There's no difference.
When did Islam become a race? Sorry.
Well, it's a religion.
Yeah, but that's different.
All right. Well, it's, no one said...
Stop. The viewers hate it when we do this. Will, I ask you a question?
How much time do I have to explain to Jonathan the difference between race and religion? That's
I'm sure there's so much you can explain to me, Will. I'm so much stupider than you are, etc., etc. We'll bow down to your superiority, obviously.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's about time. No, look, obviously Sadiq Khan started this, and I do like how Trump has then gone, right, if you're going to start it, I'm going to take this to the UN and blast you in front of the leaders of the world. I just think it's very funny. I think it's very, very funny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have no love for the Mayor of London whatsoever, as you might have noticed over my many monologues. And I think, regardless of the Sharia law stuff, which obviously, you know, Trump is wrong about, he's not implementing Sharia law. We've got to be honest here. London is a terrible city now. It's way worse than it used to be. I'm not saying it's the worst city in the world to live in, but it is a substantially worse place than before he was mayor. And it's just got knife crimes out of control, crime is out of control. I mean, we have to have signs on the road in Oxford Street now saying, watch your phone might get snatched. That's how bad it is while he's renaming the tubes. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. Anyway, look, don't go anywhere. There is a whole boatload full of news I'll be sharing with you in just a moment, including that massive story about Morgan McSweeney, Keir Starmer's chief of staff, nonetheless. Are we going to get another resignation? Is it all over for Keir Starmer? Was I right a couple of weeks ago? Let's find out after the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. You might need to turn your heating on again tonight, as it is going to turn a little chilly once more, with some clear skies and light winds, all due to an area of high pressure, the perfect ingredients for our temperatures to take a bit of a drop. Worth bearing in mind, we still have an occluded front across parts of the southeast, so a few showery bursts still to come here